There's a lot of mixed reactions about Poppy Playtime Chapter 4 going around right now, and I wanted to cover my thoughts on the chapter, given that I just spent 6 hours filming the game yesterday and recording a live stream out of it, and I can see what some people mean in some aspects, but I definitely don't see what others mean in other aspects, and I just wanted to get my thoughts in about it. It all started when I saw this tweet by Fiznom saying, "Man, yesterday's Poppy Chapter 4 stream was really fun. I wonder what everyone else thinks about the game." Oh my goodness! And as you can see, on Steam, it has mixed reviews, which is a pretty bad sign of a game. To put it into context, Poppy Playtime itself has very positive reviews. Chapter 2, which I'd say is the weakest chapter, it's also mixed, but overall mostly positive. Then Chapter 3, if I can go and get to that. Chapter 3 had very positive. Chapter 3 was absolutely fire. And then Chapter 4, as you can see, we've been getting mixed reviews so far. Don't know if it'll end up being mostly positive, but so far this chapter's being placed among the likes of Chapter 2. And I don't think that's entirely fair. I think compared to the Mummy Longlegs chapter, this one is so much better. But there's a few key details that went wrong with it that a lot of people are upset about. And one of the biggest things about this chapter, if we check out the reviews, you'll see it's about being buggy. Like, this chapter felt extremely rushed, it's very buggy, and the stealth segment is very poorly designed. So, Poppy Playtime has always been a very weird game when it comes to bugs. Out of any game I've ever played, this one probably has the most bugs in it. And it's nothing completely game-ending, but it's enough to be really, really frustrating, especially in that ridiculous stealth scene with Yarnaby. That really grinded my gears because sometimes he would just chase me permanently, chase me forever and never stop. And then other times, I'd sprint right in front of him, go through a hole, and then he wouldn't chase me at all. And then sometimes I'm hiding and he comes next to me and then he just stays there forever and then he grabs me after after I move the tiniest bit in one direction. It was really, really weird like that. But maybe it was because I played it almost a day after it came out. It wasn't enough to ruin the playthrough, because any bugs I did get, for example, when in the main part where you're about to kill the doctor's brain, I believe, he's got a plug and you meant to pull it with the grab pack. I pulled it with the grab pack and then it got stuck somewhere and glitched out of the world. So I couldn't end up plugging the plug into the doctor's brain to heat it up and destroy it. It wasn't a big deal because I just restarted a checkpoint and put in the code that I already knew. And boom, I was right back there pretty quickly. Any bugs that happened were quite easily resolved by just reloading from a checkpoint. And Poppy Playtime Chapter 4, out of probably every single Poppy Playtime, has the nicest checkpoints. Like, I swear they gave you a checkpoint every 10 seconds. Like, anytime you took a step, it would make it a checkpoint. So it was pretty good there. I did appreciate that. It made things a lot easier when it was buggy, like, especially with the Yarnaby thing. If you had to do the Yarnaby thing from the very beginning, like go all the way back and then do every single puzzle again, that would be soul crushing. But after you do like the group of 3 things and then go to the other things, it gives you a checkpoint. So that's not too bad. It might have been buggier on release, so I can't really talk about that. But from what I saw, the bugs, it wouldn't be enough to make me dislike the game. It wouldn't be enough to make it a mixed reviews, in my opinion. So then, what are other reasons as to why people are upset about this chapter? Well, if we go into the Twitter replies down below, you see a couple of things that people are upset about. Like Jacoby, who said, I mean, they charge $20 for a currently buggy and glitchy game that does disservice to the characters they advertise. So 67% is really justified. Now, that's an interesting one. This is another big point that people are talking about. It's the disservice to the characters that they advertise. Because I was there and seeing everyone's reaction to the trailers of the new Poppy Playtime chapter. When Yarnaby was teased, when the nightmare critters were teased, and I don't even remember the doctor getting teased. I don't think he got teased maybe until like the actual trailer. So I'm not even really counting the doctor here. So same with Doey. Doey wasn't teased until the actual trailer itself. But Yarnaby and the nightmare critters were the biggest. And so I imagine what Jacoby is saying here by like a disservice to the characters. It's the killing Yarnaby off so easily and the nightmare critters not really doing much. And I can see why people are mad about Yarnaby. Because when the Yarnaby teaser came out, everyone thought Yarnaby was going to be like the main villain of Poppy Playtime Chapter 4. In fact, I thought the same thing. I was probably the only person who made a negative post about the Yarnaby trailer. Because when I saw it, I was like, sorry guys, Yarnaby sucks. Like, Yarnaby isn't scary. He's not a spooky guy. Oh, his head opens into a mouth. Ah! Like, that didn't really scare me at all, because overall it was still just like a goofy, mindless dog-looking thing that walked around. But people loved Yarnaby. I gotta say that it was like a fan favorite character immediately. Probably because he was kind of like a dog, like kind of like a cute, you know, dog animal. Maybe some people did like the mouth opening thing. I didn't find it very scary though, but people really liked him. And so to just have him in like a couple of those stealth phases and then hitting the hook and then burning, which we don't even technically see the body, so he might still be alive, but like seeing him burn like that, a lot of people were upset about it. Personally, I don't really think that's something to get upset about. Like, getting upset about a game doing a disservice to characters that appeared in the trailer, I wouldn't blame the game for that. I'd blame out of control fan hype, because the fans are hyping themselves up so much about Yarnaby being a big deal, even though, like, I guess, like, they made him out to be a bit of a big deal in the teasers, but, you know, they didn't promise anything with that. In fact, I'll get to it soon, but I'd say they should be mad about the opposite, about the characters they didn't make a big deal about being a disservice. And I'll get to that in a sec, but I want to talk about the nightmare critters now. So the nightmare critters as well was something that people were excited for, especially after the Smiling Critters chapter. My god, that was incredible. With all the Smiling Critters, I myself was hyped about the Nightmare Critters. The Nightmare Critters were something that I actually found as a pretty spooky concept. Like, the Smiling Critters themselves are terrifying, but then add in a whole nightmare variant, it's like, what? And it was a bit of a disappointment. They were still just basically reskinned Smiling Critters, right? That just went around and, you know, tried to grab you and jump at you and all that, just like in the previous chapter. Which I can see, coming from a gameplay standpoint, it's not that bad an idea, because, yeah, like, having those little things chase you is pretty interesting, it's pretty engaging, but it's a shame that they didn't do anything else with that. But then again, like, they didn't really make it out to be that they'd be a big prominent feature in the next one. So again, I'm not too upset about them not using them. I wish they'd use them more. It kind of moves on to the next point that I saw someone mention down here. And this one is what I think is a huge problem, and something I wish that Poppy Playtime would stop doing. This is also probably my biggest gripe with the series so far. Five Nights in Anime says, personally, my biggest gripe of the series is the villain of the week Scooby-Doo type writing. We have a big bad, they are amazing, gets killed off in 5-minute boss fight and never seen again, rinse and repeat. Could you imagine the hype for Chapter 5 if every villain was still alive, albeit on their last legs? It would have made the build up to the finale an Avengers Endgame kind of hype train. And that is legitimately so true. And that's what I was gonna say earlier, where they barely featured the Doctor in the teasers and the trailers, and then when the Doctor is in there, he's made out to be the big guy of this level, the big guy of the week, and he's introduced as a guy who's extremely intelligent. He's running a whole series of tests on you. He's allowing you to live because he's so confident that there's no way you're gonna be able to stop him. And then you don't even outsmart the guy. You just show up in his lair and outrun a couple of slow TV dudes, and then you kill him. Like, it felt wrong. Like, this guy he was built up as something so smart, and then he just dies. And he wasn't even, he was barely mentioned in any previous chapter. Then he's made a big deal about it in this chapter, then he goes out like a wimp. You just, slap him around a bit. It was upsetting. That was disappointing. That one is something I can see people properly complaining about because it is, like, properly upsetting. He could have been so much cooler. He could have been so cool, but, like, because there was no build-up in the trailers, I wasn't even that, like, hyped for him during the chapter. Think about it. Back with Poppy Playtime Chapter 3, think of the insane build-up, and honestly, some of the best horror game marketing of all time was in Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 with the Smiling Critters VHS tape, like the analog horror style Smiling Critters, along with a trailer. Every single one of them featured Catnap doing something terrifying. Catnap was legitimately so freaky. But then in the marketing for Poppy Playtime Chapter 4, we just had, oh, Yarnaby, oh, he's coming, and wow, his face jumps out. It goes back to the old traditional form of marketing where it's just like, oh, something scary is about to happen. Boom! Jump scare! Woo! Or like, oh, it's creepy thing, and then it does more creepy stuff. It's not interesting anymore. And so that's why I would say this chapter is a specific downgrade. It's definitely worse than Chapter 3. By far. In terms of horror, in terms of, like, intrigue, in terms of probably the story as well. But what it does better is the characters. And I suppose one of the characters that they're saying it's a disservice to is Doey. And like Doey we just get introduced to in the chapter and then he's gone again as well. Kind of like this villain of the week complaint, which is kind of sad. Wish he'd be around for a lot more. But yeah, like people could be mad that Doey gets killed off. But I think the Doey, like, story was actually quite good. That was my favorite part of it. Seeing Doey go from someone who's actually helping you to someone who justifiably wants to hurt you, it makes sense. And that was really cool. That thing I did like about it. But coming back to this complaint is the fact that, yeah, I wish that they'd stop doing a villain of the week thing. Like, I would love it to have a proper recurring villain that's going to be moving throughout the chapters now. Now, especially now that we're getting deeper into the lore and everything. To be fair, they're doing a step in the right direction. I think that was the actual Huggy Wuggy that attacked us at the end. So now we're sort of starting to bring back some previous monsters. But I'm hoping that they don't do the Gartner Banban formula where it's just, yeah, monster of the week. Next week, we're going into Dr. Janitor's toilet room. And it's a whole chapter of just toilets. And there's a giant toilet that chases after you with green sludge trailing behind it. And then the week after, it's the wardrobe man. And he's a man with many clothes. Ooh, and they all have mouths on them. Like, it's just not that interesting compared to, like, if we have, okay, the prototype's gonna be here in the next chapter, but then, you know, he might, like, get away, and then he's gonna come back even stronger with a fervor in the next one, this time different, even cooler. Like, I think that would be way better. And it doesn't seem like there's going to be an ending in sight. I think they're going to try and really milk out the franchise as much as possible, which is a blessing and a curse because it's a curse where, like, they're kind of making things up on the go, and you can tell they're making things up on the go. Like, there is no way they would have planned for, like, the Doctor to be a thing, even Catnap to be a thing in Chapter 1 or Chapter 2. Like, they're just writing it, and that's why the Doctor only shows up for the one session and then he disappears, because they're not really, like, writing it into future chapters, which kind of does annoy me a bit. But yeah, so that is a big issue that I had with it, and I can see why that also adds to the mixed reviews. But does anyone else here, I saw something from someone else say, yeah, like, well, it did good with telling a story, but it's kind of weird. Like, why did Doey just automatically kill Pianosaurus, even though that could have been a great chase scene? Why was Yarnaby so buggy, and why weren't there cutouts of the Nightmare Critters? And did we even kill the Doctor? I mean, I'm pretty sure we did. Like, he pretty obviously seemed to die. But that's funny. The Pianosaurus thing was kind of goofy. I bet you some people were really hyped. In fact, I saved this here. I wanted to show you. This guy called Buggy Huggy who makes these fan-made Poppy Playtime chapters. He made a whole thing out of Pianosaurus. Like, in fact, Pianosaurus is probably one of the main dudes after Yarnaby that this guy made his chapters about. Like, he did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like 9 videos on Pianosaurus, well, 8 minus the compilation. And then just for it to be a whole little cutscene where he immediately gets smashed apart by Doughy. That was kind of goofy, kind of funny. But one thing that I found really crazy about this is that Poppy Playtime Chapter 4 is mixed. And Garden of Banban Chapter 7 is overall very positive, with recent reviews being mostly positive. I'm sorry, but there is no way that Poppy Playtime Chapter 4 is worse than any of the Garden of Banban chapters. Like, after Chapter 2, Poppy Playtime, the creators stepped up their game so well. Like, Chapter 4 of Poppy Playtime, not as good as Chapter 3, but still leagues above Chapter 1 and 2. And any of those chapters really is miles above Garden of Banban. Garden of Banban's like, it's real sloppy. It's real sloppy jalopy. So I disagree. Yeah, Banban wasn't that bad. Yeah, it wasn't that bad for Banban, but Banban in general is terrible. It's like taking a poo in the toilet and then like taking a bite, then then picking up someone else's poo in the toilet and eating that and saying, yeah, compared to that one, it wasn't that bad. Like, brother, you're still eating poo. It's still bad. So I think it's silly that it's getting mixed reviews compared to the Poppy the Garden of Banban thing. Because Garden of Banban does everything Poppy Playtime does, but like 1,000 times worse. And it's still popular. Still crazy. No, Banban was still pretty bad, and most of the reviews for that game are just, yeah. Like, it's probably because only people that play Garden of Banban, like, they don't know any other chapters, right? They don't know anything else other than Banban, so that's why they're reviewing it well. And I like the monster designs and everything in Banban, but still does not hold a flame to Poppy Playtime. Anyway, that's basically everything I had to say about it. Yeah, let me know down below what you think. I loved Doughy. Doughy was very cool. Doctor, I did not like. I wish, like, there was more of a build-up. Oh, one more thing is that, yeah, a big thing is that the chapter was really way less scary than Chapter 3. Like, I don't think there was really many moments where I got legitimately frightened. Whereas in Chapter 3, I got so scared that I swore multiple times, and I'm trying to be a family-friendly channel here. Like, Chapter 3 was so good. And I really hope that they can bring back that analog horror aesthetic in Chapter 5. That thing freaks me out so much. And they should use the fear gas more. Because they had the fear gas in Chapter 4, but it didn't give us any hallucinations. It was just like a thing to turn off before we inhaled too much of it or something, then died. So that was weird for me. I found that very strange. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Poppy Playtime Chapter 4. Bye!